Stop making unspoken requests. If you don't know what this is, this may be a mistake you're making in your relationships. Stay tuned to find out whether you are. Hello and welcome. In today's video, we're discussing the idea of the unspoken request. Now, this isn't something that many of you have ever heard of because this is coined language from myself and my wife that we use in our own relationship. I want to share it with you today. The unspoken request is this idea that we have something in our minds, an expectation, a desire, something we would like carried out in a certain way, but we fail to discuss it with our partners. Now, communication is the corner of any good relationship, but the reality is sometimes we don't do a very good job of that, right? We've all made mistakes when it comes to communicating clearly, accurately, and well with our partners. The unspoken request is kind of a pivotal point in that kind of communication breakdown that leads to all sorts of problems in every interpersonal relationship, whether it's intimate, family, friends, co-workers, even bosses. So what is the unspoken request? Well, the unspoken request is the idea that you have an expectation of something being completed or carried out in a certain way, but you never communicate it with a partner or a friend or a coworker or a boss. And then when things don't go the way that you expected, you get upset. Right? Now, this isn't your partner's fault or your friend's fault because they had no idea that you had this expectation, but you did. And then you're upset because you had an expectation, and expectations we have an emotional attachment to. So when it's not followed through on, emotionally we feel hurt, we feel cheated, we feel misunderstood, we feel like we've been mistreated. But the reality is, the only thing that we really did was mistreat ourselves and mistreat our partners. Why? Because nobody's a mind reader, right? You ever heard that saying before? I'm not a mind reader. We can't possibly know, as partners, what the unspoken requests of our partners are. And because we can't know them, we can't complete them. It may not even be that we don't want to. We might very well want to complete the requests of our partners. But because they never tell us, we don't know. And this cycle begins. So how do we stop it? Stopping it is very simple. Stopping it comes down to just paying attention to you, yourself. Knowing what it is that you want, and then clearly and concisely communicating that to an open-minded partner. This may be something as simple as, hey, I don't want to be the one that always takes out the trash. Could you please take out the trash every once in a while? But if you never ask, they may not know. Right? Obviously, it seems obvious. It seems like you should know, hey, look, your partner's taking out the trash. Maybe you should do it every once in a while. They're going to get upset if they have to do it all the time. But sometimes what happens is one person is home more often, one person has more free time, or one person has a little bit more motivation than the other. And that person just does this without thinking. They just take out the trash all the time. And they don't stop to think about how it's upsetting them, how it's frustrating them. But in their mind, it starts festering, right? In their mind, they start saying to themselves, why doesn't this person ever take out the trash? Why don't they ever help me out? Right? But the partner doesn't know, okay? So you have this unspoken request, and as this unspoken request goes unmet, time and time again, the level of frustration, the level of anger, the level of angst continues to grow until it explodes. But by that time, it's way too late. And now there's a giant fight between you and a significant other, or you and a friend, or you and a family member, right? A fight that could have easily been avoided by simply not having an unspoken request, right? All you had to do is communicate your truth to your partner, and it all could have been avoided. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay? Unspoken requests come in many, many forms. Sometimes that unspoken request is that you really wanted to go to sleep. You didn't want to stay up and watch that movie. Right? But somehow your partner was supposed to read your mind, was supposed to just read your body language, and just supposed to know that you didn't want to stay up and watch the movie. Instead of communicating with your partner, you just expect them to figure it out all by themselves. And guess what? Guys in particular are sometimes not very good at that. But this isn't gender specific. The reality is, we all have unspoken requests. Maybe we wanted that text before we went to sleep saying I love you. Maybe we wanted a phone call saying, hey, I got home safely, and it didn't come. Not because the person didn't get home safely, and not because the person doesn't care. Because they didn't know how important to you it was that good night or good morning text or that hey, I got home safely phone call came. And why didn't they know that? They didn't know that because you had an unspoken request. You had an expectation. You had a desire. And that desire went unmet because it was never communicated. It was assumed that your partner would just automatically know that that's how you felt and that that's what you wanted. But that's not how it works. We don't always know that. We can't always figure that one out. We have to communicate clearly with our partners. We need to remember that the way we perceive the world is not the way that our partner necessarily perceives the world, or our friend perceives the world, or our family member perceives the world, or our coworker or our boss. Because everybody perceives the world differently, we all have different expectations. Expectations about what's normal. Expectations about how people should behave, how they should act, how they should respond emotionally to situation X, Y, or Z. The worst part about this is we all think that the way that we perceive the world is the way that everybody else is going to perceive the world. And this, in my opinion, is in large part where unspoken requests really begin to grow. As we perceive the world in our own way, we expect everyone else around us to perceive the world in that same way. And I'm not saying we expect it like, hey, my way is the right way and your way is the wrong way and you should do everything like me. What I mean is more on a subconscious level. We don't realize sometimes that other people don't perceive certain parts of life the same way we do. Maybe certain values, maybe certain morals, maybe certain belief structures. We just kind of subconsciously assume that everybody sees it the same way, but the reality is they don't. There's millions of people on this planet and tons of different cultures with tons of different value systems. So we can't possibly expect for everybody to see the world the way we do. But when we fail to communicate them, there's no guarantees that they'll be met. Now you may say to yourself, hey, isn't this just normal? Shouldn't my partner just know this? Maybe, maybe not. But what's most important isn't whether they should or should not know something, whether they should or should not automatically behave a certain way. What's most important is that you and whoever it is that you need to communicate your truth to end up on the same page. And this is one area where we often end up not on the same page without ever even realizing it, because most unspoken requests happen subconsciously. We know they're happening, we just don't realize that is why it's happening. We assume everybody's going to think the way we do, and that if our unspoken requests aren't met, it must be because they just don't care. It must be because it's not important to them. It must be because they don't care what's important to us. And when we make those dangerous assumptions, that's when we start running into problems. And communication breaks down, and everything starts to fall apart. So remember, speak your truth. No unspoken requests. Know what it is that you want. Communicate that clearly and concisely to who you want that from. And enjoy a higher quality of life with better communication, less expectations, and less letdowns. My name's Toby Bigelow, and this is Personal Growth Power. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and liking the video. More content to come. Keep learning, keep growing, and enjoy.